Robbery+Prison on Love and Robbery.
Constantly feeling like she's chasing a void that's been missing out her life as long as she can remember. Runs through the front door, jumps over the counter, tells everybody, "Get them down." Definitely feeling like she just hit the goddamn jackpot. We need to get another one, like already. Leaving the second one, thinking about the third. You probably shouldn't go to this court date, like something just don't seem right. They coming to you with the, hey, if you do this, then you might get you a little less time. That mean they ain't got shit. Yeah, what's going on, man? What's going on? I know. I've been gone a while. Personal reasons. I'm just gonna say that, I don't want to get too deep into it. But I just had to, take a little step back. Sometimes you gotta do that. You know what I mean? You gotta unplug yourself sometimes, especially when you get into that point where you feel like you're going back to that person you never want to go back to. On top of all that, I end up deleting the first half of this video by mistake. I already had all of this done. I already had it edited and ready to go. One tired night, well, I'ma say morning. It's probably about 3 in the morning, and I'm trying to clear out all my storage. And I end up deleting the first half of the video, and it was 14 minutes of the video. You get later on in the video, you're gonna see the background kind of look different. I may have on different clothes. The mic is gonna sound different because I just now found the wire to my goddamn mic, so I had to record most of the story without the mic. Just a lot. Either way, I hope you enjoy the story, and I hope the audio don't bother y'all too much. But without further ado, ladies and ghetto men, let's get into this part 2, god damn it. I go by D-Jack, but you can call me D. Call me D. Now, after all the court proceedings, they going back and forth to court, jail, court, jail, court. In the midst of that, she ends up losing her mother. So when she get the news, she stopped doing all of these things that she's supposed to do. She's not taking her prenatal vitamins. She's not eating like she's supposed to. She ain't sleeping too well. So the jail, they end up putting her in the medical ward. Now she's in the medical ward for, I'ma say, 2 to 3 days. And while in there, she gets a call from her auntie. Well, I'ma say she talks to her auntie. She tells her in order for her to have one more time with her mother, have a last moment with her, to see her, it's gonna cost $150 to make everything happen. In the middle of all this, she's already been going back and forth to doctor's appointments, and she's been getting real cool with the transportation staff. They give her certain information on certain things that's gonna happen or not gonna happen. They're real cool with her. So when her auntie drops the bomb on her that, hey, you can't go, or you might can't go because you got bad behavior, you are in there tripping. And Tiffany confused, like, I'm not having bad behavior. Like, what's she talking about? Like, I'm big as hell. I'm pregnant. I'm trying to chill out for right now. So she thought in her mind that instead of her auntie just saying, look, I ain't got the bread right now, she just gonna tell her, oh, they said you've been having bad behavior. Like a lame lie. It's a lie for no reason. Just say you ain't got it. Her mom's good friend, she actually offers to pay the $150, but the aunt says no. She would eventually go and see her mother. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Now, by now, it's almost time for her to get shipped into a women's correctional facility. But before she does, she ends up having her baby. This will be her second born. I don't know if I told y'all in part 1, in the midst of all the robberies, everything that was going on, she already had a son. Her son at the time was 2 years old. When she went in, her son went into the care of her family members. So she wakes up one morning, it's about 10 a.m., 11 a.m. She wake up to her water breaking. Because it's a weekend, it's a Saturday. The transportation staff that is usually there is not there, so they have to call the ambulance to come get her. And they end up transporting her to MCV. All my Richmond folk know MCV is one of, if not the biggest hospital in Richmond. So she gets to the hospital, she getting settled in. When the nurse comes in, it's a male nurse, a white male nurse. He doesn't believe that her water broke. She's already felt like since she got here that they've been treating her a certain way. They've been having little innuendos, sly little comments. You can tell face expressions, body language. You can almost tell when somebody either don't like you or they looking at you a certain way. And because she's an inmate, she already felt that way herself. Now, maybe it could have been her own thoughts that made her feel this way, or it was actually true. He takes this tool, the nurse, he takes this tool, and from what she described, she called it a duck mouth. He inserts it inside her, and when he does, he actually notices that, hey, her goddamn water broke. So when he takes it out, he doesn't just take it out, he yanks it out. And when he does that, her amniotic fluid squirts all on his face, got all on his glasses. But that's what his ass get. Karma is a mother. So now they end up transporting her to labor and delivery. And when she gets there, she gets the same vibe from this staff. All the nurses in there just giving her that funny vibe. They tell her that it's only one anesthesiologist on duty. Pardon me if I'm saying that word wrong. It's only one on duty and she's busy. So it's going to be a while before she comes in and give her the epo shot. She's in the room, on the bed, handcuffed to the bed, and there's 2 female officers in the room with her. Now, this whole time she's in there waiting, nobody's coming back and forth to check on her. You need anything? You good? You ready to, nothing. They're pressing the nurse button. No one's coming in. She had to actually start screaming and yelling before anyone would actually come in and give any type of assistance. So finally, the anesthesiologist comes in and she's getting prepped to give her the shot. Now, Tiffany, she can't completely bend over for her to access her back, and that's where she needs to get to. She eventually gets it in, and Tiffany tells her that she feels pressure down there, but she doesn't feel that it's working. So she puts a test on her stomach to see if the epo shot is working, and it's not. So she lifts up her sheet, and she see that the baby head is already crowning. He's coming. They're getting ready to deliver the baby, and it only take 2 good pushes before her son is out of the womb. They pick him up, they put him on her chest, and he wasn't there long before one of the nurses come in and tell her, look, his temperature dropping, we're gonna have to take him and do such and such. And she just felt like, y'all didn't even take his temperature. How would you know his temperature dropping? I'm not sure, I wasn't there. But they end up taking him out, monitor him, and she still feels a little skeptical about it. She's skeptical about everything. She's already feeling like they don't like her right now. After this birth, the epo shot is still in effect. Even though it wasn't working at the time she needed it to work, it was still in her system. So her legs didn't have all of the feeling back yet. So it was a struggle for her to get up out of the bed. It was a struggle for her to get in the shower, use the bathroom, brush her teeth. It was a lot. And none of the nurses would come in and help her. No one assigned to Tiffany helped her do anything. So after a good 5 hours, the doctor actually brings the baby back in the room. Tells her that, look, your baby's fine, he's totally healthy, he's good, here you go. The doctor that was monitoring her son, he actually stayed and helped Tiffany do all the things she needed to do. He helped her stand in the shower, he helped her brush her teeth, he helped her do all the things that the nurses were supposed to do. He wasn't even assigned to do that. Some people just shitty people, I guess. She wouldn't let him out of her sight, to the point where when it was time to ask, hey, do you want to circumcise him, she said, look, just do it after I leave, because she wanted to spend as much time with him as possible. She knew that once she left, she's gone. And him getting the circumcision at that time was going to take a couple more hours, which was going to take more time from her. She did everything with him. After the doctor left, she kind of got a little bit of her feeling back. So if she would get up, she would take the baby with her. I don't know how the hell she did it. One thing I know about women, man, women are strong. But a woman who becomes a mother is a goddamn superhero in my eyes. They let her stay in the hospital as long as you're supposed to when you have a baby. 2-3 days max, depending on your condition and the baby's condition. When it was time for the nurse to come in and take her baby because she has to go back to jail, she did it in a way that rubbed Tiffany wrong. She just walked in and said, come on, give me your baby. And she felt like, no. And she bucked. Like, nah, y'all not taking my son. Like, really going off. So the female officers that was in the room just nicely told the nurse, like, look,
just give her a few more minutes with her son and we'll talk to her.
So they end up doing that, and she breaks down. She breaks down crying. She knows this is the last time she gonna see her baby for the next couple years. Ain't no telling when they're gonna bring that baby up there to see her or visit her, because around this time it's the cold winter months. Being a newborn, some people say it's not safe to do. Some people say you should. It's a toss-up for me. But they would eventually bring him to come see her later on in the years as he got older. This time they come get the baby. They're getting her dressed. They're getting her all shackled back in cuffs, and they wheeling her out the room. When they wheel her out, she can see her grandpa, her grandmother, her little cousin, and her aunts. Now, watching her baby go one way while she has to go the other was probably the worst feeling to go through. I couldn't imagine. So she's up, handcuffed, and ready to leave, and she gets back to the jail. Now, a few months down the line, she's ready to get shipped to the facility. When they transport her in a jail van. Think of it as a white utility van. And she was only shipped with 2 other females. And this was the year 2011. It's a long ass ride. They pulling up at the prison. She pulls up to the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women. Getting off the bus and her walking through and getting into the prison, she pretty much knows what's to come next. They take her shackles off, take her cuffs off, and they do a strip search. Now, unlike men's prisons, of course, there's a couple other things they have to do, but overall, it's damn near the same, other than flipping up the titties and shit. They give her a white net bag for her laundry, 2 totes for property. Now, they're getting ready to transfer her to her first living space. They housed her in the intake building when she first got there. Before she get there, she gotta walk through a big ass yard. When she walked out, it looked like a low budget college campus to her. Now, she nervous, but at the same time, she excited. She done heard all the stories about prison, but she knowing she gotta get into that mind state of, this is where I'm finna be for the damn near the next decade. Ain't no moping, ain't no walking around crying with your head down. You got to get used to it. You got to get yourself in that mind state of, it is what it is. They housed her in building 1. In this intake building, they had 4 different pods. Now, all 4 pods housed 60 women. All the women she's being transported with, all of them are newcomers. Everybody comes here when they first get here until they're transported into an actual pod where they'll be permanently unless they get transferred somewhere else, like segregation or another pod. She walks into the pod, 4 tables, 2 tiers, 4 or 5 phones for everybody in there to use. She stays there for about a week or 2 and she gets transferred to her actual pod. And her first cellmate is a old frail white lady. You know, she didn't really talk too much. They didn't have a lot of communication. But when you walk in, her cell was structured with the bunk beds to the back of the wall, and they called it a wet cell. They called it a wet cell because the bathroom was on the outside of the cell. 2 desks on the other side of the wall with lights hanging over top of them. And one of the first things she did was learn how to play a game called Pinochle. Now, Pinochle was just basically a overcomplicated spades game. And while playing this spades game, the older heads, the older women, I would say, they came down to talk to her and the newcomers, basically giving her game on what's going on. The regular mind your business, keep your head down. Hey, if you do this, you're gonna be cool. If you don't, this will happen. Not really pointing, but you know, telling her who's who. That's a baby killer. That's a molester. This person did that. Or that person killed her husband. This person killed their kids. As she's playing this game, she could see a woman walking across the pod, and this woman's name was Donna Blanton. If I'm getting that name wrong, y'all let me know. She was actually featured on the TV show Snap. Now, I ain't gonna lie, they say that TV show for women, but I be watching that shit all the time. And she watching her walk by like, for real? And she's sitting there telling her the whole story, how it happened, how long she been here. She not even gonna put herself in that state of mind of being worried about nothing. So the day goes on, she talked to enough people, she do enough to kind of get comfortable for her first day, and lockdown time comes. She gets into her cell. Before she actually lays down, they gotta stand in front of her bunk. Instead of them standing on the outside to do count, they make them stand in front of their bunks so they can do count. She lays in her bunk, and she's just looking at the ceiling, just thinking of ways it could have went different. Thinking of all the decisions she could have made instead of this one. Trying to really get mentally prepared for this. Like, she's gonna have to do this for the next 8 years. Now, like most prisons, they get up at the crack of dawn. They get up super early. I remember when I was in jail, we got up every morning at 4 in the morning. Gotta eat breakfast super early, eat lunch super early, eat dinner super early. Everything was done early. When they would get up to go eat breakfast, they had to be back in the pod to do count by 6:30. A few months later, she experiences another loss, which was her uncle. And when her uncle passes, it's almost like she became emotionally detached from her home life. Really made this her home. Trying to think about ways to not let the outside worry her while she's inside. And by now, you know, she moving smooth through her bed. So a couple months go by, and she's in the day room playing a game of Pinochle again, and she gets called to the bubble. Now, the bubble set in the middle of all 4 pods so the guards inside can watch everyone. I'm not sure how that's even structured. I'm trying to think about 4 pods and a bubble, guards in a bubble watching 4 pods full of 60 women. Like, that's kind of crazy. She gets a call from the chaplain. Now, everybody knows what that means. Either somebody died or somebody is going to die. Something serious is going on. So as she's walking over to get whatever message, she can see a lady from the chaplain walking towards her. Before she can even tell her what's going on, Tiffany already breaks out questions like,
Is somebody dead? It's my grandmother, isn't it?
and she break down right there on the spot. Now, unlike her being in jail, they didn't put her on 24-hour suicide watch. She goes into her cell and she's crying. She's crying for a few hours, and the other inmates trying to calm her down. They trying to console her, but nothing is going to console her at this point. You know, out of all the people she's lost within a year and some change, her having her baby, her not being able to be with said baby, it's a lot. She's knowing that she's not going to be able to go to her grandmother's funeral because her funeral is in DC, and that would be considered going over state lines. So she sit with this thing for a couple days, and they end up prescribing her some psych meds. I don't know if these psych meds was prescribed on account of what she's going through or something she was already taking. And unlike being in jail, she didn't have to be on 24-hour suicide watch. I'm guessing she didn't let anyone see that she was really off that bad. She just stayed in her cell for a while. And she told herself, like, man, I gotta do something with my time. I gotta get this off my mind. I can't keep thinking about it. I gotta do something with myself. So she ended up getting a few jobs within the prison. She ended up getting a kitchen job. She's going to school for HVAC. She ride forklifts. She will go from building to building, stripping and waxing floors. And they would have them out there all night. And it would always be when the compound was shutting down. And while they're working, they would mix a concoction. On the street, speedball. Pretty sure they call it the same thing in there. They would get some real strong coffee, some super strong coffee, crush up some psych meds, stir it in the coffee. Now, on top of the medication she's already taken, she's adding this into the mix. The psych meds they crushed up was called, correct me if I'm wrong, Terazepam or Terazepam. If I'm wrong, y'all let me know in the comments. It started to be an escape for her. She didn't want to really deal with reality, but she soon noticed that it wasn't an escape. Because when she would come out of her high, when she would come out of her relaxation, she was still here. Now, one of these days, like any other day, she has to do the same. She got to get up at the crack of dawn. It's 4 in the morning. She going to breakfast. After breakfast, she got to go to school. Now, when she leaves school, she goes back to her room to get a few hours so she can have some rest before work that evening. She goes into her room, cut off the light, jumps on her bed, and she want to lay it down for a few hours. She's overworked. She's tired. And her cellmate isn't in the room at the time, so it's peaceful. A few minutes into her sleep, her cellmate comes swinging the door open into the room. Super loud. Being all loud, talking all loud, cutting the light on. They're on the second floor, and she's yelling down, talking down to her friends that's in the day room downstairs. Just being real rude and disrespectful. The cellmate, she would end up leaving the room, leaving the light on, leaving the door open to where she can hear everything that's going on outside the cell. She jumps off the bed, cuts the light off, and shuts the door again. But this time she locks the door. When her cellmate tries to come in, she's gonna have to pop it, and that way she knows when she's coming in the door. Like predicted, cellmate comes back into the door, popped the door, swung the door open, being loud, talking to her friends downstairs in the damn day room, and Tiffany is feeling like she's doing on purpose, like just talking shit. So she got tired of it. It was enough. She jumped down back off the bed, cut the light off right in front of her. Now her cellmate pushes her. After she pushed her, Tiffany didn't waste no time to check her jaw. They thumping, they fighting, they getting it in. And while they getting it in, about 10 seconds into the fight, another inmate comes to the door of their cell and let them know, like,
Hey, the cops right there at the front of the pod.
they break away from each other. They calm down. When they pull away, Tiffany noticed that her nose is bleeding. So what she does, she goes into her tote, grab a bag of chips, go down into the day room and act like nothing's going on. Acting like she don't know what happened. But they end up calling her name, but we all know why. So they call her over there and they transfer her to segregation. Now she's in segregation for about a month, close to a month, 20-something days. After that situation, they start calling her Onyx. I'm instantly thinking about the rap group with Sticky Fingers, and I forgot the other one name. But that's who I'm thinking about. When I think about the name Onyx, I think about Buck Wild. Buck the up. So because she wouldn't back down and she would throw her hands and she would actually beat up, they calling her Onyx now. But if I'm wrong, correct me. So after gaining somewhat of a respect from other inmates, still doing her time smooth, she starts to have relationships with other inmates. Like I told y'all earlier in the story, she is bisexual. She was bisexual before she got here. Now this woman that she started messing with, they're just fuck buddies. They not in a relationship. They just satisfying each other for the moment. One day they outside the cell using the sink, and before this she was mad at Tiffany for actually talking to somebody that she didn't like. Even though they're not together, she didn't like it. She was a little jealous. So she talking, calling out her name, and while she's brushing her teeth, she actually sits up, looked Tiffany in the eye, toothbrush still in her mouth, and screams.